And welcome to Chat with Gunner, episode 5. Brought to you right here by Terminal 57. First time I said that, it sounded pretty cool. Hey, Ethan, you shut the door. So, today we have another guest. And what I said last time was we want to start bringing on people from the Chattanooga area to let them come on, tell their story. I like people that are hustling, people that are doing their thing. And with this particular guest, he had me on his podcast a little over a year ago, probably. It might have been like late 2018, might have been when it was,
Maybe.
possibly. But I did, was it during the break? I did, yeah, did during the break podcast. We went on there. I talked a little bit about pro wrestling, a little bit about diets, a little bit about nutrition, just a little bit about everything is what we did. So I'm going to welcome in my guest for the evening, Clint Powell.
How you doing, man?
What's up, dude?
Not much. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, man, I like to return the favor, you know.
This is killer. I love the studio.
Yeah, well, it's not mine. I can't take credit for it, but
Just take it, man. Just
Yeah.
take it.
I'm here every Thursday, so I feel like it kind of is mine. I don't pay the bills, but
This is a great studio. I love it. I've told, actually, I knew a little bit about this from someone else that works here. And, you know, I have my own studio. And I've referred this studio to some other folks who have different needs.
yeah.
So I'm impressed. You guys are doing it right.
I think that it has a good potential to be like a good video spot. If you want to do like a video podcast, kind of like what we do.
Yeah.
Audio. I know you guys have a really good audio section, right?
We do several radio. We like 8 radio shows, 5 or 6 podcasts, and we have some video capability, but nothing like this. That's
Right.
why when I was talking to you guys when I got here, man, this is the video, and I know you can do audio too,
Yeah.
but this is the best of both worlds. But yeah, our studio is super focused around audio.
Cool.
Radio and podcast, and we rent it out, and it's going great. We love doing it. I love I love the platforms.
So for those that don't know, give them a little bit of information about the podcast you do and kind of what you do just around the area, man.
Oh, here we go. Well, I still do. My most of my money is made through marketing and consulting and some sales, sales training. But I have podcasts, during the break podcast.com, Dayfire. Now, Dayfire, During the Break is my personal podcast, and it's where I get to have people on that just interest me. It can be business owners, entertainers, athletes. I've had, Gerald Riggs, Buddy Curry, Tim Kelly, any different people. I do one called Dayfire Podcast with a buddy of mine, Dawson Wheeler. Dawson used to own Rock Creek Outfitters, sold it, and we've done almost 50 episodes. And we get people from not just around the country, but around the world that have gone on these unbelievable outdoor adventures, climbing, hiking, paddling, river, anything you do. They do it. They have all the adventures, and then we get to have conversations. It's super cool. And then, of course, I got Marketing Mix Radio. I've done it for 8 years. It's a partnership with Sean Whitfield Media. My co-host for the last year on that has been Rich Mazingo, president of the Chattanooga Lookouts. So we talk business with guests and stuff every Sunday on 98.1 The Lake. It's a lot of fun.
Cool, man. Yeah, I see a bunch of your posts up with the guy from the Lookouts. I didn't know who that was. But
Yeah, he's the president. He's the main man over there.
seems like a cool guy for the most part.
Very cool. One of my most fun hours of the week is recording with him. He's very sarcastic. He can be a huge smart ass, and we just get along.
It's perfect.
Oh, it fits in great.
It's kind of like us.
Absolutely, yeah. There's a lot of editing going on over there because we can't say that. We got to cut that out.
The best part about this is there's zero editing, and we can say whatever we want to. That's the best. That's the best and worst part about this place.
This
here.
is what just happened because I'm a shaky reputation already at 52. Now I'm just going to be like this the whole time. I'm just not going to move. I'm not going to talk. I'm answering strictly yes, no.
So your during the break podcast, the one that I did, I think that inspired me to do this one a little bit.
Yeah.
I have to say you did it. Going to do your show, I was like, you know what? I think I'm going to do my own podcast. I remember around that time, I was like, you know what? I'm about to jump into doing some podcasting as well. And since then, I've been pretty consistent. Like literally every Thursday, I've done a podcast.
Well, I think I've done 150 something episodes of During the Break. I've done radio for 8 years, and I said Dayfire, and then I helped 3 or 4 other podcasts do their thing. But there's only a handful of them that I've told guests you should do your own podcast, or I thought they could do it. You were definitely one of them because of your experiences. You've got football, you've got the wrestling side of it, you've got the business side. You work in the business world, and plus you have the personality. So with all of that, you just have all the ingredients. Plus you're curious.
Yeah.
You like conversation. You like to talk. You like to listen.
Right.
So, and I'm glad you're doing it. I'm glad you're doing it. It's doing good stuff. I keep up with you. I share your stuff all the time.
I do. I see that. I try
Yeah.
to share all your stuff too. Yeah. But yeah, so I am curious. I mean, every day I've pretty much replaced music. I've said this before on the podcast, but I've replaced music with audiobooks and podcasts.
Yeah.
I can't keep up with. I literally can't tell you who the top 10 best artists are, or, the top 10 songs right now. But I can tell you, top 10 podcasts and best episodes to listen to, and what's the top books to listen to.
Well, if you get to be my age, all the music nowadays stinks. I'm old, cranky.
Right.
All the good music's back in my day.
Yeah.
I've got a 15-year-old that would disagree. So I listen to a lot of the new music, but no matter what, my music a lot of it's been replaced with podcasting.
Right.
And now with radio, because radio shows, we take some of our radio shows, Sean does, we edit the commercials out and we put it on podcast platforms.
Yeah.
So now the listening options that I have, and that's how I got into it. I mean, I was listening to people like Joe Rogan and The Fighter and the Kid and Jocko Willink and all of these podcasts I love. And I thought, I can't be a big fish in this big pond, but I can be a decent-sized fish in Chattanooga, Southeast Tennessee, North Georgia.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm trying. And so there's been a couple of people that I've had on that I thought could do podcasts. You're one of them. And the other thing is I enjoy listening to people like you and Rebecca and some other folks starting the podcast.
Right.
Because it's a new perspective on everything. So I get to hear you have conversations now.
Right.
Which
yeah,
is fun.
instead of just answering questions for the most part.
Yeah, it's fun.
And I've with college football and all this stuff, I've answered all the media questions. I've said the right thing when you're supposed to say it. I like to just talk and get to know people now. Because that's how I am in life in general. Like if I meet somebody really cool, I just ask them about themselves and get them talking.
My partner on Dayfire, Dawson Wheeler, he's on a 6-week ski trip right now. He does it every year.
Right.
And some of us, good for him, he can afford it. But I talked to him the other night, and I'm like, man, part of the trip you're by yourself, and the part of the trip he has other people meet him. So over the course of 5 or 6 weeks, he'll have 4 or 5 days with his kids or 4 or 5 days with his wife and then some guys and all. And I said, do you enjoy the alone time when you don't have people around you because you're in these beautiful, beautiful vistas, He said, man, I'm on chairlifts with strange people all the time. I get to ask them questions, and I start conversations. And from that, I was talking with him. He scheduled a couple guests from just meeting people on chairlifts.
That's cool.
Yeah. So the inquisitive part of the podcasting, it pulls it out of folks.
Right.
So he's like you.
Yeah.
He just starts conversations with people.
I'll find myself asking podcast type questions to people outside of the show, and then they'll say something really cool, and I'm like, I wish I had somebody to record that. That'd have been great for the show.
That's why I started my podcast and named it During the Break. Because I was doing radio, right? Well, radio, I love radio. It's, I sold it for years. I managed it for a little while, but I just love radio. But radio's got the constraints of time. It's either 10 minutes or 12, 13 minutes, depending on your radio clock. But what that means is if I'm interviewing Gunner, man, I got a TikTok. We got to get to whatever we're talking about because I got a break coming up, which is fine. But the really cool conversations happen a lot of times during the break.
That's a cool name.
So I started the podcast because I wanted to be able to take a squirrel conversation if I wanted to. In other words, if we're talking and you're talking about football and all of a sudden you talk about wrestling, I want to be able to go, oh, well, let's just go talk about that.
Right. Yeah. I'm a squirrel.
I don't want to worry about the clock.
Right.
And that's one of the cool questions I get asked all the time about podcasting. How long should a podcast be? And I always tell people however long it takes.
Yep.
Sometimes a 20-minute conversation is all it takes. But if a conversation goes longer and it's good, then that's how long it should take.
Yeah. And people these days just want to listen to people talk, I think. They just want to listen to a good conversation. Mainly because everybody is afraid to talk anymore. They want to text, or they want to get behind an email, or they want to get behind a direct message or an instant message or whatever. So they just want to hear other people have conversations.
Yeah, and I think that comes a lot. You hit the nail on the head. We are so attached to these things. I mean, I'm sitting here right now, and I've got 9 text messages. Right? And if I weren't with here, I'd be doing this.
Yep.
This is what I'd be attached to. So I think people now are so attached to other things that hearing conversations, almost living vicariously through other people,
right?
Learning. It's almost like audiobooks. They get to hear new perspectives, and as long as it's entertaining or informative, they'll stay in tune. Yeah. Once it becomes beating the dead horse or braggadocious, just talking about myself, a lot of times they'll just tune that stuff out.
Right.
But there's a huge learning curve for me, at least with podcast.
So when did you graduate high school?
You shut up. Oh, sorry. Wait a minute. Am I allowed to say that?
God,
Am I going to get my ass whipped now by Gunner
No,
Miller?
because of the cell phone. When did you graduate?
86.
86.
Yeah.
So you have been in a generation where you didn't have cell phones.
No.
So tell me about the transition for you. Like, when did you get your first cell phone?
Late 90s. Late 90s, 97 or 98. I was at work at a radio station here in Chattanooga, and one of my clients was Sprint. And I went to them and said, hey, you're spending some money with me. Our station needs cell phones. So I worked out a trade for about 8 cell phones for different folks, right? And I worked that trade out. Now, here's the cool thing. I had that phone number I've had this phone number since 1997 or 98.
Okay.
Same phone number, man. That's a long time.
That is a long time.
So when I left this radio, I went to Sprint, and I said, hey, I've gained all these contacts over years, because it was 7, 8 years later when I left. I can't lose it. They go, well, that's a commercial number. You can't take it with you. And so I begged and pleaded, and they switched it over to consumer. And so I got to keep my phone number.
That's cool.
Yeah, most people, I don't know anybody that's had a phone number longer than me. For 20 years.
Now, I've had the same phone number the entire time, but I got my phone. I was in 6th grade.
But that's in the 2000s.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
Yeah,
That's what I'm saying.
You got to remember, I had no computers. I had Atari, so we had the fish where we had slide projectors. We didn't have all this stuff, man, which is good and bad.
So were conversations different? Just for like the early 90s, were conversations different then? Like when you wanted to get a hold of somebody? Like,
oh yeah, and again, there's good and bad to that, right?
Yeah.
Now, my kids, even though they're getting older, if they're at school, they can get a hold of me right then. It used to be, if there was a problem, parents would call the school would either come get you out of class, but more likely just give you the message.
Yeah.
And if you needed to call your parents, you got to use the school phone.
Right.
Man, listen, I tell people all the time, when you called my house when I was in high school and I had a younger sister, and I answered the phone, I was instructed to ask who was calling. So if you call my house, I'd say hello, and they'd say, hey, is Lori there? I'd be like, can I ask who's calling? So my dad was going to know, and I was supposed to be able to tell him who's on the phone with his kids, and if it's 9, 10 o'clock at night, hey, put the phone up.
Right.
Yeah, we didn't. That's just being, so yeah, it was way different. Good and bad. The bad side is communication could be very frustrating. It was easier to dodge dates and stuff, you know.
Right.
The good side of it is you weren't as connected. You actually had to do more of this.
Right.
Because I didn't have any other way of doing it. So if I wanted to talk to Gunner, more than likely I was going to have to see Gunner.
Right.
Which we miss, I think.
Yeah, so my generation kind of caught the very end of that and the very beginning of the boom of technology.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of in the tween right there.
Well, and now you've got videos. The video, you can do Skypes and Zooms and all that, which is
FaceTime.
Great. Yeah, but again, and I do this when I talk to folks in sales, there is something about in-person body language and expressions that you can't pick up on a camera.
Right.
For some reason, you just can't. And I think sometimes we think we've communicated with people when we've just talked at them.
Yeah.
I don't know. I again, though, a lot of my perspective is from an older guy. So I am getting close to the, hey, kids, get out of my yard.
Right.
I'm getting closer to that, So
you're talking about Skype and Zoom and all that. Do you use that with your podcast as well?
No, I need to. And that's where having somebody probably either more adapt to that or a little younger.
Yeah.
I do use a platform called Be Live TV. Have you heard of Be Live TV?
From you.
Okay. I do some, there's this girl lady and her co-host Binkley, Monica Perez and Binkley. They do a podcast nationwide called The Propaganda Report.
Okay.
I do a video with her every 2 weeks because I found video helps my social media spike. So I try to use as much video as possible.
Yeah.
But I do Be Live with her because it's very inexpensive. I can have 2 or 3 people on the screen. It allows me to add some branding. So that's my platform of choice. Mm-hmm. But I do think that Zoom and Skype probably have more options that I should get familiar with. But once I learn something, man, I'm an old Baptist guy. Once you learn something,
you stick with it.
I sit in that pew. Why are you sitting in my chair, man?
Right.
So
yeah, you told me about the Be Live, and I wanted to check it out because we want to be able to do the interview guest via satellite, is what I call it.
Yeah.
Here, so I'm excited about doing that.
And it only really works well, as far as I know. So you've got a crew here, man. When I came in, I don't know how many people y'all have, but you've got people that know things.
Right.
I think it plays well with Facebook. I don't know how well it does with other social media platforms.
Right.
So
I think it does okay with YouTube for the most part, but yeah, we're just trying to get it just for the audio or whatever we can get it for.
am I supposed to be looking into this camera every now and then like this?
You can see. I like.
Hold on a second. Is this the way I'm supposed to? Have I been screwing this up the whole time?
No. So I think it's weird that if you like keep looking at the camera when we're having a conversation, I find
can't
that
do
weird. I wish this was set up a little bit different to where, like, there was a camera that way.
Yeah.
So when I'm looking at you,
And a camera that way.
right,
Yeah.
that's how I wish it was. But
So
it is what
just
it is.
a side note, I've got a giant. I mean, you've not been in the new studio.
I haven't.
Our new studio is a small room, but I mean technology, and it looks beautiful.
Yeah.
But we have room for 5 mics, but we have a TV screen that's this big, man. I mean, it is up on the wall, so it's like a giant movie this close to your face, right?
Right.
But when I interview Monica, I'm looking at the camera like this, but she's up here.
Right.
So when I watch her talk in her world, I'm looking at the heavens.
Right.
And she told me off the air, she goes, I feel like you're looking at angels, or you're looking, there's a cat jumping off the shelf behind me or something.
Yeah, people will complain about sometimes how we look on the camera. I'm like, listen.
Do they really?
It's a little bit sometimes.
People just find reasons to complain and bitch and moan, don't they?
I was about to get to that. So on Apple Podcast, I've been asking people to do reviews and I don't ask for like a 1-star. I ask for give me a 5-star review. That's what I want.
I've asked
and
for
right
review.
now, please come to Apple Podcast, go to Chat with Gunner, and give me a 5-star review for this 5-star episode.
And
so
real
I do
quick,
that.
also do that during the break or day fire.
Yeah, absolutely.
No, go ahead. I'm sorry.
So I do that, and I have like, this is the 5th episode, so there's 30 reviews right now.
Wow, that's awesome.
Yeah,
man.
that's great
Yeah.
compared to most people's reviews. Most people don't even get any hardly.
I've got 30-something. I've been doing it for a year.
So
good
I've
job.
been pushing people
Yeah.
very hard. 29 of them, or 28 of them, are 5 stars.
Yeah.
The other 2, without anything written, are 1 stars. And I'm like, what? Like, how much do you have to hate your life to go to my page
Yeah.
and hit 1 star? How much?
And not even tell you why.
And not even tell me why.
No constructive criticism.
0 constructive criticism. Just, you know what? This guy, 1 star.
Okay, I got to tell you something funny. So my son went to leave me a review on during the break, and he, excuse me, he did great. I mean, it was great. But everybody else, I've got 1 4-star, I think 37 or 38 5 stars. Well, I've got 1 3-star, and it's from my kid.
What?
I said, hey, Bubba, what are we doing over here? He goes, oh, man, I hit the wrong star. Sorry about that. I'm like, no, you can go back on and try to fix that, can't you? You know, it's just funny, though.
Right.
It doesn't kill me because it doesn't affect my world. I like the reviews.
Yeah,
it's a little
yeah.
bit of an ego stroke, and it helps me get, noticed.
Right.
And it helps in but it is funny, though. The lowest rating I have is from the guy that loves me, hopefully the most.
That's hilarious.
Is
That's
my-
constructive criticism right there now.
It is
That's something my
100%.
dad would do. He gave me a 5-star, but that's something he would do.
But you know what else? I will say this, and I know you've got a list of stuff you're going to go over, but I noticed this on YouTube a lot. So I noticed on YouTube, there'll be like this motivational video, and there's 0 negative. 0. It's somebody, and I'll tell you why I share stuff on my pages a lot, and it's related to this. It's somebody that's putting themselves out there. I respect somebody that puts themselves out there. You played college football. Now, you played against guys that probably didn't have your talent, probably played guys that you didn't like as people, but there's some sense of respect from people that when you go, you had the guts to get on the field.
Yeah.
Right? I respect people that trying to put content out, build a brand, build a business, right? So I respect that.
Yeah.
So I see these things on video on YouTube, man, and they're putting their soul out there. They're singing. They're doing motivational videos. And I may not like it, but more than likely, unless you're talking about killing babies, I'm going to like it.
Right.
Because I want to help support you.
Yeah.
But I'll look down there and it'll be like 750 likes, 47 dislikes.
Yeah.
What kind of life do you have to repeat your words? What kind of miserable existence when you're disliking when somebody is trying to do something that's from their heart and soul? I think that's kind of, unless you've got a real reason not to like it.
Right.
But when it's just generic, hey, check out my stuff, I'm trying to make people feel good, you people need a hug and a kiss. And a drink.
I say it comes from like the wrestling community because it's like that wrestling Twitter troll lives in their mother's parents' basement. Like I always say they have crusty Cheeto stuff all over their fingers, and they're just in there just like dislike. It doesn't matter.
It's what's Will Ferrell out of is it Wedding Crash or whatever it is? When Mom, where's
Yeah.
the meatloaf?
Yeah.
Mom, what's she doing in there?
Where's Meatloaf giving dislikes?
There you go.
Oh man, yeah, that stuff drives me crazy. Drives me crazy.
Do you? How's YouTube going for you so far? You just fired this up, right?
So it's okay. So actually, my personal YouTube account is pretty good, and it's all wrestling. It's Gunner Miller TV, but it's all my wrestling stuff. It has a bunch of really good videos on it.
But you're trying to break away.
But I'm breaking away and doing this Chat with Gunner by itself. So I mean, it's growing daily. We're getting about the same, if not more, views on each video.
Yeah.
And so I did this on Facebook for the 60-minute Broadway all last year. And I was big on like Gary Vee and everybody in here all like pumping money into it. I'd put, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 100, see what type of money you put in to get what type of views.
Right.
And I realized you could put money into it and get views, but those views are not organic. Like, who are those views? Are those people coming back and watching? Probably not. And some of the videos were getting 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10,000 views, but were they?
Yeah.
They were really getting, 500, 1,000. One video literally really did 8,000 views on its own. I don't know how that happened, but it did,
Yeah.
But other than that, the rest of them were around 500 to 1,000 organic. And that's kind of what we're seeing on everything else as far as like the podcasting platforms and YouTube combined.
Good for you.
So, I mean,
that's a good number, man. I try to gauge it. When I spend money on social media, it's to direct people mostly to my website because I want to get the podcast audio downloads from iTunes or Spotify, something like that.
Do you have during the break, do you have a Clint Powell website that
During
has
the break,
everything on there?
Not yet. I'm working on. Yeah. I'm going to give away trade secrets. I want to get a website that has all of the stuff that I'm helping on.
Yeah, me too.
Because literally I'm helping 4 other podcasts outside my 3.
Right.
Because I also have another one called the Single Life Podcast.
Yeah.
And then the radio shows. But when I spend money, I try to direct people to my website so they can actually hear the podcast because that's where my value comes from.
Yeah.
So I found that too, that if you're not careful on how you spend your money, you'll get likes.
Yeah.
And you'll get some engagement, which has some certain value, right?
Right.
But it doesn't, if they're not listening to my podcast,
Yeah.
it doesn't help me as much.
Right.
I need people listening to stuff.
Yeah, I'm all about people sharing like the YouTube page because I know if you go to the YouTube page, you probably listen to at least something of it on accident.
Right.
Worst case scenario. But I'm really pushing the Apple podcast right now. That's the main one I'm pushing. I was on a website and it said that if you want to be in the top 10%, or it might have been top 20 or top 10% of all Apple podcasts, you just have to have 50 reviews.
In a certain amount of time.
In a certain amount of
time. You have
to
have it in a certain amount of time, yeah.
And it's like 6 weeks.
I think so.
Yeah.
There's a couple of people you need to have on, man. You should probably get Dawson Wheeler in here. My partner,
yeah,
Fire,
I'll get his information.
He owned Rock Creek, man. If you're wanting somebody that's been a success story, local guy, he's a great one. And then Ed Jones, owner of Nutrition World.
See, I need you to introduce me to him.
Oh, he's a great guy. I'll be honest with you, and I'm not trying to play myself down. I think I'm pretty good at some stuff I do.
Yeah.
Some stuff I do I shouldn't be trying to do. I'm just trying it, right?
Right.
Ed Jones, if you get him on here, is one of the most passionate guys about what he does at Nutrition World. He does the Holistic Navigator podcast, Vital Health Radio. All you have to do is ask him a question, and that fish is gone. And he's with passion, and it is completely informative and entertaining. You'd love having him on the show, dude.
Yeah, so I need you to introduce us somehow.
Absolutely. It's easy. That's, hey, I just need to get on this podcast. I just had him on another podcast I host about aging.
Yeah.
Had him on it. Yeah, he's good.
I've heard so much about him just being in Chattanooga my whole life. I know he's got the oldest nutrition store.
40 plus years.
Yeah, so I want to get him on. I've heard he's just brilliant.
Here's the other thing. He's 63. Go look at his Instagram or social media pages, Facebook. Watch him doing pull-ups at 63 years old. Watch him doing jump ropes at 60. I mean, it's not like he does stuff 20-year-olds can do.
Right.
Yeah, because he practices what he preaches.
Yeah.
And he's really good.
Yeah, he's one I've always wanted to just talk to in general. So I'd love to talk to him on the show.
I think you have a mutual friend that I knows him really well too, Matt Davis.
See, I know of Matt. I don't know Matt.
Oh man!
But I've heard that me and Matt need to know each other.
So I've had Matt on 2 podcasts, and then if you count the other one I did with the Chattanooga Fitness Expo, he's been on 3, and very laid back. But we had a great conversation. And you're from Chattanooga, right?
Yep.
And you're a little bit of a different age than he and I. I'm older than he is. He's a little younger than I am. But we talked about old school gyms.
Yeah.
And the difference is, now they've got buzzers that go off if you grunt, and they serve pizza.
That's happened to me.
Well, my son went in, and he didn't even grunt. He just was the clang of the weights. He didn't mean to, but he left that gym pretty quick. But the reason I think you should have Matt on is if you're wanting to, first of all, he does great business, has great stories as an IFBB pro bodybuilder and trainer. But the flip side of it is you would forget these cameras and stuff are here. Y'all would start talking about gyms like we did. We had 30 minutes just on old school gyms and how it's changed. It was fun. It was a fun conversation.
Yeah, you need to introduce me to him as well because I've heard the one gym that I probably haven't worked out in town is Train Station. But I've heard about Train Station, and I've heard it's like the only old school gym left in town, like legit bodybuilding gym.
Yeah. Well, and old school gyms, too, this had a certain feel. I drove by one in Fort Oglethorpe. It used to be a long time ago. Who keeps texting me? They know I'm doing something important with Gunner Miller. LA Fitness. It used to be LA Fitness in Club California. Yeah. Long time ago. And that building is just all torn down now. And I got that little sad feeling.
Right.
When I started working at gyms when I was 17 and 18, there was one called Living Well Fitness Center. So if you're on Brainerd Road, you know where Chili's is?
Yes.
Right across the street, there's a tire and auto mechanic. Yep. That used to be a health club.
Really?
It was like Century something. I can't remember. Then the Roman Health Spa. Then it was Living Well Fitness Center. Cool. And I worked there and managed there. But we got into that conversation, and I'm hijacking your
no,
podcast.
That's fine. So on fitness is my thing. So on fitness, do you know, and if you're in Chattanooga, I think you should know, Jack Silverman?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So his son, Taylor, was my roommate a couple years ago.
Okay.
So Jack's been in women's fitness, I guess, for a very long time in town. He's wrote books, but he had, I think, maybe Silverman's training. Or
he did, yeah. He had a Jack Silverman training.
So he's opened a new one a couple years ago, and it's called Vive, Training for Women.
Okay.
So my buddy Taylor is going to be on the show next week, and he's going to be talking about Vive and women's training and the group classes and everything. And he has a really cool gym downtown on the North Shore, right across from, I guess, Earth Fair. Is that what's downtown?
Yeah.
Yeah, in that little section. Or Whole Foods?
Whole Foods.
Whole Foods, yeah. Whole Foods, yeah.
I don't go to them, so I just was saying yes.
Right, yeah.
But yeah, sure, whatever. I get my stuff from Dollar General and, and Food City, dude.
No, get Aldi. No, that's the place to go, dude.
Do they sell the vanilla Oreo cookies? Yeah, that's where I buy my groceries.
Yeah, is that next to the McDonald's on the? Yeah.
Have you ever had vanilla Oreo cookies?
I haven't. First of all,
don't do that. Just don't. If you want to keep your girlish figure.
I'm a regular Oreo guy.
Have you had it, though?
I haven't had it.
Okay, well, then just open up your mind there, young fella. The vanilla Oreos, it's change your life a little bit. Just a little bit.
See, I can't do that because I'll be on the vanilla Oreo diet.
Okay, so I didn't work out. I took 1 year off, and I gained 32 pounds.
Yeah,
and I told you this. I got back 2 weeks ago, back to the boxing, and, I'm never going to play rugby again, but I can do something to get active. Mm-hmm. And so I was proud of myself this weekend. I went grocery shopping. My daughter was with me. She was in the car, and I'm in there. Nobody was monitoring me, right? So usually when I'm with my daughter or somebody, I won't just run and get the Doritos, the Pringles, the Oreos,
That's how I am.
Yeah. So I was walking down the aisle by myself, ghosted the Oreos, didn't even look at them. I felt very proud of myself.
Did you go back after you felt proud about yourself?
There's no reason to ask follow-up questions, Gunner.
Gotcha.
Let that one go.
I will leave the investigation away. So I want to talk to you about something else that I think you might be interested in. And you've done some shows. You said you were in sales.
Yeah.
You did sales training. I just went through a sales training class. Sandler sales training?
No, yeah, I've heard of it.
You heard of it?
Yeah, very good.
So what type of sales training did you do?
Well, I do seminars. Over about a 10-year period, I did probably over 8 years, over 300 seminars.
Really?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, whether it's for 20 people or 100 people.
Really?
Here, Nashville, and Knoxville. And when I say that I did the seminars, there's 4 or 5 topics. One of them is about sales. One of them is about business ownership. But when I did I did take the sales management out of it when I was a short time on the radio for that side of it. The consulting part I've done have been to individuals. I actually start a consulting job next week with a company that has just 2 or 3 salespeople. What I have found is my niche is for those sales reps that don't have either a sales manager, a strong sales manager, or they have a business owner who really doesn't have the skill set to be a sales manager. In other words, Gunner owns ABC Widget Company. He's really great at making widgets.
Yeah.
But he's not really good at the management part of it. Mm-hmm. So I can come in, spend some time each week with your sales rep, and it's one-on-one stuff. It's very basic. Usually after about 3 or 4 months, if you need something higher than me, you can go someplace like Sandler. But my skill set is for the individual sales rep out there that doesn't really have a sales manager that can teach them some things, or keep them, hold them accountable, or give them some suggestions about objections or how to manage their day, stuff like that.
Right.
Yeah.
So speaking of managing your day, that's where I was getting to. Do you have any? I know you said you quit working out for a year.
I'm back though, so we can just forget that part.
So we can just talk about the years prior and now.
Yeah.
Starting tomorrow.
Yeah, start 2 weeks ago. I was in the gym since I was 16, so yeah, I can relate.
But are you big on habits and morning routines? Is that something that's?
I think when I'm younger, when you're young and in the middle of doing what you're doing, when I had kids, let's take my 20s out of it. I don't think we had habits, but we weren't aware of them.
Okay.
I wasn't very self-aware. I don't think a lot of 20-year-olds are. Maybe they are nowadays, because there's so much motivation around us on YouTube.
Yeah.
But in my 20s, I had habits. I just had no idea what they were, and not all of them were healthy.
Right.
I was in good shape or doing well despite my habits.
Yeah.
Of 2 hours of sleep a night and pizza.
Right.
Pizza builds muscle.
Yeah.
Then when you get busy with kids, you're in habits again, but there are a lot of those habits are forced on you by life. And I think the super successful people kind of step back and realize I need to implement some self-control on my day. As I've gotten older, I have developed habits. At least going back to that.
Mm-hmm.
I took a year off where I tried. I didn't try as hard. But when I'm doing well in life, yes, I have habits, routines, rituals, and little things I do throughout the day. So the answer to the question is yes, but I've not done that my whole life.
Right.
Again, a lot of times I don't think we're self-aware. Sometimes, you've gone through ebbs and flows.
Oh, yeah.
How many times have you looked back on it and thought, man, I just don't have the energy I used to have. I'm not as clear thinking. And then you start evaluating yourself and you go, oh, man.
It's this.
Yeah, I stopped drinking water. I'm not getting enough. I'm not going to church. My prayer life. Whatever it is in your world you stop doing, you've got out of the habit of it.
Right.
And it happens.
Yeah, so I think it's big on routine. Like you said, in your 20s, it's probably not – most people in their 20s don't have the routine or structure or habits. And now I think some might – I go ebbs and flows, kind of like you said.
But you played college football.
I did, so
your
that
habits
helps.
were enforced on you.
Right, they were. And my dad, prior to that, my mom and dad, they were really big on me. I had to get my sports done. Like, sports have been my life. That's the best thing that's ever happened to me. But it literally just taught me discipline. My self-discipline is pretty good.
Well, I think in the absence of self-discipline, in that vacuum, that's where a lot of our bad habits come in. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
We don't realize we're in habits. But I started reflecting on stuff. Like I said, I started a couple weeks ago, but I looked back on last year, doing things I know I shouldn't be doing, especially as you age, right?
Yeah.
Eating at certain times of night. Why? I'm not hungry.
Right.
It's a habit. I just got in the habit. What's that time of night? It's 9:30. I sit on the couch and I watch this show and I eat this bag of Doritos and then I troll Gunner and I don't like his crap.
Yeah. Yeah.
You get in those habits.
Yeah.
And when you're young, a lot of times habits are forced on you because the kids have to be at school at a certain time. You have to be. And then as you get older, if you don't have some good self-discipline or surround yourself with, I've got friends that call me out on my BS. I'm very fortunate. I've got a lot of good friends over the years, and I've got friends that have taken me to lunch. I've gotten friends over the past year that will look me dead in the eye and go, "Hey, dude, what are you doing?"
Right.
I've got people that love me enough to look me in the eye and say really hard things, and I've had to say that to friends before.
Yeah.
So I really appreciate it because I know how much courage that takes and how much they have to care about me and my family.
Right.
To sit me down and go, "Dude, you need to start looking at some stuff."
Yeah.
And then you do, and you kind of realize, man, yeah, I'm my worst enemy.
I think it all comes down to thinking about what you're doing and reflecting on the day. Like if you don't write it down, you can't see it.
You write it down?
Me. So this is just from January, but I write down everything, all my workouts. I'll have these things like titled like brainstorming my days. I'll try to put like my bank account balance, my budget, like what I'm trying to I try to keep everything in here.
So do you have books saved like that?
So I started this last year.
Okay.
Because I was at a point where last year, I'm 28, I'm about to turn 29, but I'm 28, and I was like, I don't remember my 20s. Okay, so like I get out of college, I'm 22, I get my first job in logistics when I'm 22, 23.
Right.
Start pro wrestling at the same time. So I was working Monday through Friday, wrestling Friday through Sunday, getting back in Monday morning, going back to work. And then if I had any days off, I was partying. If not partying, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday while I was wrestling. So I was just autopilot was the majority of my 20s. And as far as financials, the worst with financials in my up until now, like the worst with them. So
nobody sits us down. It's really funny you brought that up. I had this conversation with a really good friend of mine yesterday. Life changes, right? He's going through some life changes.
Yeah.
I've been through some life changes.
Yeah.
No one, most of the time, no one sits down and gives you a manual.
No.
And say, hey, this is how you handle finances. Now, you might have gotten some training on it when you're young, but I'm talking about consistently. Telling a person I'd write a check one time is not really teaching them the habit of saving money, right?
Right.
But nobody gives you a manual on relationships. They don't give you a manual on when they hand you a kid.
Nope.
They'll job train you. You got to have a license to get a gun or to carry a gun. You got to get a license to have a car. But don't hand you a baby.
Yeah.
At
No
the
kidding.
hospital and say,
No kidding.
hey, good luck with that. And then, 20 years later, you look back going, man, I hope he's okay despite my screw ups.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, the 20s, you were talking about it. All of your time was imposed by your commitments, right?
Right.
I'm wrestling and I'm working. And if I'm not, I'm going to go do some. There was really no time to sit back and think about it.
No.
There's no reason to save money. Well, I'm having fun. I'm living life. I'm moving.
Right.
You wake up, you're 35, you don't have anything saved.
Right. So,
Yeah.
and I've been listening to guys like Tony Robbins, guys like Dave Ramsey. Just that's been like my whole focus. I'm pretty good with the body. I feel like I look okay. I look good enough to where if I want to take my shirt off, I take my shirt off. I'm fine.
If you do, we're fighting right here. Yes, I'm telling you, I'm taking a shot at him right now.
Right. Like I'm not Mr. Olympia. I'm not going to be a bodybuilder. I'm not the guy that's going to be on the front page of a magazine. But I'm strong. I'm confident in the way I look. I feel good about all of that. And I know what I'm talking about when it comes to fitness because I have put so many hours into it.
Right.
Just learning. Well, why have I not done that with money?
Or business.
Or logistics, like what I'm in, or any of that. Like as far as pro wrestling and podcasting and my body, I have went all in. Why not on the things that matter?
And I'll tell you this, and this will, some people listening to this will kind of understand what I'm saying. Put that much time in, unsolicited advice right here. Put that much time in on relationships as far as how you communicate, red flags. And when I say relationships, everybody, give me your man card. I'm not talking about that.
Right.
It 100% has to do with your personal relationships, but how you communicate with your significant other is also, learning how that is also going to help how you learn to communicate with your business partner and sales clients. Communication, sometimes us guys get focused in and go, man, if I can learn how to communicate consistently with my clients, right, or my sales staff,
Right.
But we completely forget about how to communicate with my kid or my wife or my friends, and we end up, that's fine. Again, when you're 20 and 30, man, you're busy.
Right.
But when your time tree starts having leaves fall off of it and you realize I've got more time on my hands and I look over for my friends or my wife or my kids, if I've not learned how to communicate with them when I'm 30, there's no magic switch I can flip at 45 and 55 and go, okay, now I'm going to be a really good communicator.
Right.
You got to learn that stuff, man.
Yeah, communication is key.
Learning how to communicate with yourself is the most important part. And I think the fact that you're writing stuff down and kind of being self-aware is a great start. Most people don't do that.
Yeah.
That's a good sign.
It's the easiest thing. It's the hardest, easiest thing to do, to carry a notepad around and write down everything.
Yeah.
It's the hardest, easiest thing to do.
We can spoil this for men right now. It's called Diary. It's called keeping a daily diary.
It's a
and
journal.
You're journaling. And guess what? Let everybody laugh about it right now, completely. And then in 5 or 6 years, when you have your business together and you have your life together, then it'll be a different story. They'll start journaling then.
Yeah.
They'll be 5 years behind you.
Yeah, I mean, I've got buddies now. They're like, "Oh, we carry around that notebook that ain't gonna last for a month."
Okay.
Oh, I mean, and I get that. Or it's like, I'll be like, "Hey, what are your goals?" Well, I don't know. Well, write some down. No, it's stupid. Well, why is that stupid? But it's a waste of time. Well, what are your goals? I don't know.
Yeah.
Well, write them down. Why? Because you don't know what your goals are. Like, what do you want to do?
It's almost like I want to take a trip. Well, where do you want to go? Well, I don't know. Okay, well, cool.
Yeah.
Just take off driving. Let me know if you get toward nowhere.
Right.
Because you'll be there. So I think what you're doing is great, man. I wish I'd done it when I was younger. And again, I used to. We write things down on to-do lists and planners at work. A lot of times we forget that we are our number one relationship with ourselves.
Yeah.
And so the fact that you're kind of doing that, so you can look back 4 and 5 days, 6 days, saying, okay, why am I feeling the way I'm feeling? What have I stopped doing?
Right.
The challenge for you will be to make sure you keep that as the habit.
Yeah. And I'm trying, like I'll miss, like last weekend, I missed a Saturday, Sunday. I went to UFC in Raleigh, North Carolina with my dad.
How was that?
It was fantastic. First sidetrack.
Was it a UFC fight?
It was my second UFC fight.
I went to one in Atlanta a few years back, but I didn't mean to hijack.
Oh, no, that's cool. We'll get back to it because I will talk about that.
Okay.
But, yeah, I went to that, and I missed it. So that Monday I got back into it, and, I mean, I've been pretty consistent.
Do you have an accountability partner? Do you have somebody to kind of hold you accountable for that?
I do not.
Yeah, just down the road, I always found excuse me. If you have somebody that can every now and then check in on you and go, hey, man, how's that going? Because what happens is you're on the Oreo aisle when nobody's looking.
Right.
You'll grab the Oreos, or you'll stop doing it and give yourself a bunch of excuses. And you may not. I just know that I'm prone to do that.
So it's funny you say that. Johnny Jones.
I do, yeah.
His son, Jared?
Yep.
Okay, so Jared had, I shouldn't have said his name, but Jared had gained a little bit of weight over the years.
Who?
Yeah, right. Actually, I'm going to call him out on this. He had gained a little bit of weight over the years, and, he was, a little heavy, and he knew it. He just didn't know how to get out of the rut, and nobody knew how to help him get out of that rut.
Jared, I'm there with you, buddy. It's okay. Yeah.
So Jared and I started training about 18 months ago, about 18 months ago, and dude, he's lost 100 pounds.
Wow.
Yeah, not even the same person.
Good for him.
Like he weighs like 185 pounds, right? Yeah, you need to see Jared.
Good for him.
Yeah. So, but that brought me to, he's the guy I was talking about where I'm like, hey, man, what's your goals? I don't know.
Yeah.
Okay, well, write them down. Don't want to. And I can't change that. And he's still not going to see. He could listen to this right now. He doesn't see that with me. He doesn't get why we do this. So what I had him doing was when we were working out was write down each set, each exercise, each rep, each weight, so that we could progress. That's all I wanted, just so we could progress. I bought the notebook. I brought the pen. I was like, listen, just do this for me, please. Keep up with it. So he had it for like a day or two, lost it.
Yeah.
I was like, okay, so here's what we're going to do. I'm going to keep you accountable, but hold myself accountable. We're both going to do it, and I'm going to keep your notebook. So we just did it for workouts. So I've got my workout journal for an entire year. That's pretty good. Yeah. He ended up stopping doing it, but regardless, it put us in the right direction with him, and he kind of saw that it's the hardest, easiest thing to do.
But two, and I'm not playing devil's advocate, but the important thing for people like me and Jared that may not do what you do is to find a system that works. Because, they always ask, what's the best CRM for a business, customer relationship management program? Well, the one you use. Yeah. Whatever system works for you is the best. Yeah. And so if it works for Gunner, but it doesn't work for Clint, then Clint shouldn't try to do it. Right. Because Clint can't. I don't have your mind, your motivation, your body makeup, right, your goals. Yeah. It would help. I think that's a common thing. It probably would help him if he tried it. Yeah. But I love the journaling part. There used to be a bodybuilding system or a workout system called power building. It's back in the 80s. Okay. And you had to send off for it. Mm-hmm. You had to go in the gym, do these tests. How many you could get for 10, how many you could get for 3, what you could get for 1. Yeah. And then you sent them this along with your measurement, all the stuff, right? Right. Very comprehensive. And then they sent you back 6 months worth of typed out just for you. I still have the book. Yeah. I'll bring it to you and let you see it.
That'd be cool.
And you had to do their workout and track it. And, man, over 6 months watching the gains was awesome. Right. Again, I was in my mid-20s. Yeah. I didn't think of that. I saw some stupid ad in Muscle Magazine, right, one of the Weeder magazines. Yeah. But, again, tracking it helped.
Dude, that stuff works. All your top bodybuilders track their stuff. Everybody that's really, really good and like the top of their game, they all track everything.
And most CEOs track their days.
Yeah, and they read more than they watch.
Absolutely. Yeah, most CEOs that are successful, people like Tony Robbins, he knows exactly what he's doing tomorrow at 9:30. They build in a little flexibility.
Yeah.
But, most of the time, the flexibility a lot of times is built into their day.
Right.
So, yeah, tracking stuff works.
Yeah, so I thought that was really cool because that kind of got him on the right. Even though he doesn't still do it, it got him on the right path. Now, like you said, just because it's what I do and it works for me doesn't mean it's going to work for him.
He can always go back to it.
He now doesn't have to show up and work out with me. He now doesn't have to worry about what he's eating because he knows if I eat that, I'm going to gain weight. I need to eat. He knows what he needs to do now.
Yeah.
Like he's figured out his little system to keep looking like he wants to look, and he knows. All right, if I want to lose another 20 pounds, I got to buckle down, and I got to do it this way.
There you go.
So I got to zone in and focus. Like we both got the Apple Watch, same time to keep up with our calories. So I didn't need to lose weight, but I was like, listen, dude, I'm gonna lose more weight than you. Don't let me do that because it's not possible. It shouldn't be possible. And we'd have contests who could burn the most calories in a day, and I knew he couldn't out eat it.
Right. Did you keep up with Joe Rogan, the Sober October stuff they do?
I listened to all of their stuff.
I do too, and I've wanted to do something like that in Chattanooga.
Yeah.
Just with get 5 or 6 people.
I'm down.
And we got to figure it out, but I think that would be cool.
Yeah.
To have something that is competitive, but not competitive.
Right.
Just something that kind of hold everybody accountable, because that's all it is. Holding each other accountable and saying, hey, I'm going to kick your ass at this, dude, if we're not careful.
Well, I don't know. I mean, you do podcasting. I do podcasting. You said Ed Jones.
Ed Jones, I'm going to be honest with you right now. You and him, if we do the physical thing, we have to come up with another component because I have to cheat. I'm just telling you right now. But Ed Jones is a good one. Dawson's a good one. I mean, there's a bunch of
Matt.
podcasts.
I was going to say.
Oh, yeah.
That'd be a good little group there.
Yeah,
we could do a
there's
Sober
4 or 5
October.
of us. Yeah, that was a bad idea. Let me look into the camera. Bad idea.
Yeah, bring out the competitive spirit.
I listen. I can jump in there.
I did.
I only, I haven't always been out of shape.
I experimented with a water cut the other day just because some of the guys at the office were talking about losing weight. And I was like, listen, guys, y'all talk about losing weight every week. I'm tired of y'all talking about it. I'm about to beat you right now. First one to lose 25 pounds. So I was like, there's no way I can lose 25 pounds. I weighed in fasted. I was 225 pounds. I was like, I'm going to weigh 200 pounds in 7 days. They was like, no, you're not. I was like, yeah, I am.
Did you?
No. But I weighed 209 and I beat everybody.
Did you really?
I lost 18 pounds.
I got 3 years ago, I was 251. And I'm only 5'10", and I tell everybody 5'11". I'm really only 5'10". Listen, I'm that guy that's under 6 foot. How tall are you? I'm 5'10" and a quarter and a third, 8.2. But I weigh 251. It's too heavy for me. When I played rugby and feeling good, I was 205, 210.
Right.
So I went into this boxing thing, and I wanted to get down to 210 again.
Yeah.
I got down to 214. Felt great. 214 at 50 something is different than 214 at 30 something.
Right.
But the reason I bring that up is I lost all that weight doing what I know I needed to do, but it took so much effort. If I could just maintain, I don't have that big hill to climb again.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And so maybe the Sober October thing for us, or we can call it something different. We don't want to steal theirs, but maybe our thing could be, something around physical plus maybe books. They did something this past year where it was, I don't know if it was books or they had it was do something new. They had to do something new. It was like some of them did yoga.
Yeah.
They did the gun training thing.
Yeah.
You had to do something new.
That's cool.
And that was very cool.
I'd love to do something with gun training. That'd be really sweet.
Yeah. There's a couple of folks in town that could help us do that too.
We need to look into that. Get a couple guys.
Yeah.
And get something going here.
I would
Chattanooga.
love it.
I'm sure we could get some people to do that.
Yeah, track it.
Go around, track it, get some people to film it, put a little video together.
I'm all for it.
We got the studio.
I'm just telling. I'm going to say it right now. I'm going to film this. I can call BS on this later.
Yeah.
I'm going to kick Gunner's ass. What do you think about that? I'm just kidding. And cut.
We'll see. We'll see.
It felt so good to say.
If it's boxing, maybe.
No chance. 6 months away, I can say what I want to. I can come up with all kinds of 52-year-old injuries. I think my arm's broken. I can do all kinds of things. Back out.
We were about to sidetrack to UFC. You a fan?
Yeah. I'm back into it a little bit now.
Yeah.
I lost interest for a number of years. I don't know if they went through I grew up with boxing was the biggest thing.
Yeah.
Boxing, there was no big there was a few big pay-per-views, but most of the time I could see the world-class boxers on Sunday TV or Friday night fights. And I don't know if UFC went through a few years where they were just, it was too many champions. I didn't know any of them now. and I think Joe Rogan's helped me a little bit listening to Joe again and the Fighter and the Kid podcast. I'm back into it.
Yeah.
But yeah, the first years it came out, man, the oh my goodness, are you kidding me? I was all in to Couture and the Iceman. I went to Atlanta. Do you remember when Chuck Liddell?
Yeah.
He's one of my favorites because he fights like you could see him fighting in a bar.
Oh,
I mean,
no
the dude
doubt.
stands like this.
Yeah.
I mean, he'll take a punch to give a punch.
Right.
Well, when I
And
was
he'll probably knock you out.
well, when I was in Atlanta, he shouldn't have done that. That's the one he got knocked out. I think it was Rashid Evans.
Ooh, that was a bad one.
We sat there the whole night.
That's when his chin went for the most part.
I'd never in a million years. First of all, I wouldn't have gone if I'd have known the Iceman was gonna get knocked out like that.
Right.
Dude, he ragdolled. He got ragdolled. It was horrible. But the experience, super fun.
Yeah.
Loved it. I did a few pro fights. I promoted 4 or 5 pro fights here in Chattanooga, and on a, of course, way smaller scale.
Boxing, right?
Yeah, boxing. And the one thing that I know is the experience. People, when they get in their car, in my world, I want to start off when I'm doing an event. What do I want people to say when they're leaving the event? So when Gunner and Clint get in the car, what do I want them saying on the way home? I start with that's my goal, then I try to work the event backwards.
That's cool.
Yeah, and me and Rich Mazingo, we talk about that a lot of times. When people leave the lookouts, what does he want them saying as a family? Well, I think UFC's nailed it because they've got an experience when you go to that, man. You're debriefing an hour in the car.
Oh, yeah.
You're talking.
Yeah, so Dad went with me to his first one this past weekend. But prior to that, I went with my girlfriend Tia. We went to Atlanta in March, I believe it was, March or April, May, around that time. Man, that's by far the best sporting event I've ever been to.
What was the difference between Atlanta and North Carolina, or was the event consistent? And were they both UFC fights?
Both UFC fights.
Okay.
The only difference, Atlanta was a pay-per-view. So it was like a numbered big event. It had 2 championship fights on the card, so 2 5-round fights. And those 2 fights both were in the top 5 for fights of the year of all last year. So that was good timing.
Yeah.
This past weekend was the heavyweight division. It was like the number 3 ranked guy up against the number 4 ranked guy. So still a really good card. Attendance, both were packed. Crowds, both were electric. I mean, just the sound system and watching, I had really good seats. We sat pretty much in the same section, which was about 10 to 11 rows up, right in the middle, like 50-yard line seats. So you're not blocked by the cage. You're right over the cage. So that's the best seats in the house.
But so the experience, though?
The same.
Consistent.
Exactly the same.
That's why why they who they are, man.
You can't beat that.
Yeah.
Like I've been to and I guess you could kind of compare it to like a WWE show a little bit, but like a Monday Night Raw or a pay-per-view. Because I've been to a house show, those are nothing. I mean, I do pro wrestling; those are just there's nothing in the air. But if you go to a Monday Night Raw or pay-per-view, it's kicking. They're moving on all cylinders.
I know you don't want to talk wrestling. We're not.
We can.
No, I just got a question for you.
Okay.
Just one.
All right.
Give me one question. Favorite wrestling entrance ever? Who, if you were to go, when they did the entrance, because I went to a couple of Monday Night Raws when I had my kids were little, right?
Yeah.
It was just for them. Because I grew up big wrestling fan.
Right.
But who would be your entrance? Who would be the one guy you would go, okay, that guy had it?
So that is you. Everybody asks this question. Who's your favorite wrestler? What's the favorite?
No, I
entrance?
don't know your favorite wrestler. Who's your favorite entrance?
I can't tell you my favorite entrance. I can tell you 5, but they're all different.
Okay,
and
let's hear it. Is that? Am I veering off of what you want to do?
No, this is fine. We
Okay.
can talk all night about this stuff.
Okay.
I just try not to because this is why.
Okay.
So if I had to do top 5, and I'm sure there's more. There's probably a top 10, but I'll give you 5.
Okay.
Bill Goldberg.
That was my first one, yeah.
Okay, so you look at the entrance. He's getting escorted to the ring by cops, security guards. He headbutts the door as he's coming out, and he's usually busted open or half concussed.
Yeah. The fire.
He comes out after the crowd's chanting Goldberg before he even gets to the spot where he comes out. He comes out after about a minute, and then fire hits him from both sides, where he breathes in the smoke and blows it through his nose like a bull.
Yeah.
And then does this crazy kick, and he's fired up, and he walks to the ring, and where most people get in the ring and they raise their hands and they do all this cheer, he literally just gets in the ring and gets ready to fight.
Yeah.
So that's That's hard to beat.
Yeah.
That's really hard to beat. And his
Okay.
is all based off of mixed martial arts. He'll tell you that.
Have you listened to him on the Fighter and the Kid podcast?
I have.
Okay, just throwing that out there.
And
It's
he has
great one.
so Stone Cold also has a podcast on WWE Network. It's called like the Broken Skull Ranch series or
Because
what.
he has that TV show.
Yeah. But he has on the network. He has like a little interview style like this, but not on YouTube, just on the WWE Network, and it's him and Goldberg, and it's a really good conversation.
I'm gonna have to listen to that one.
You need to
because
listen to
Stone
that.
Cold would be one of my other favorite entrances.
It's one, and he also has one with the Undertaker, which is also in this top 5 list because I mean that's just a really cool entrance. Got the Undertaker deal, explains itself. The Ultimate Warrior, who runs to the ring.
Look at you going old school. I'm now liking the conversation, man.
The Ultimate Warrior runs to the ring, shakes the ropes, blown up before the match even starts, which is matches were only about a couple minutes anyways. But the Ultimate Warrior, The Rock.
Okay,
It's hard to beat The Rock's music coming out.
I agree.
It's hard to
Smell
beat
what
that.
I'm cooking. How about the Road Warriors, man? Do you remember the Legion of Doom?
I do, but other than their song, their entrance is not great. I don't think. Like they look big. They come out, they got shoulder pads, but what, other than their song.
Because they start off with Hawks. Ooh, what a rush.
Yeah, I mean, that's cool.
Yeah.
But number 1, Stone Cold Steve Austin.
Yeah.
I mean, the glass shatters. He comes out drinking beer,
Shotguns a couple beers.
So it's hard to beat those. So if I'd had decided to have Stone Cold, The Rock, Goldberg, Undertaker, and who else? I said Ultimate Warrior.
Ultimate Warrior. Good for you.
That's
man,
top 5.
That's good, though, man. See, I go way back to Wrestling 1 and 2 and Bob Armstrong. I mean, I go way back there. But that's the only wrestling question. I'm not going to go down that road, but I appreciate you letting me ask it. 'Cause that's fun stuff.
Yeah, I can get fired up about that.
Well, we
stuff.
talked a little bit about that the first time you were on During the Break podcast.
Yeah.
That was fun stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. And I've just, through the 60-minute Broadway, I just talked so much wrestling over the past year. And I don't know if you knew. So I went viral last year.
What'd you do, man?
So there was this wrestler named Marco Stunt. He's like 5'2", 115 pounds.
Okay.
So independent guy, got picked up by AEW, which is like the new WCW, right? Signed a contract with them. I hadn't been wrestling at this time for over a year, and I made the comment on Facebook. This is literally a Facebook post. I said something along the lines of, I grew up watching Hulk Hogan, Stone Cold, The Rock, Kevin Nash. I named all the big guys. It's a slap in the face to real athletes that the AEW would sign 5'2", 115 pounds Marco Stunt. That's what I said. Kind of like in a sarcastic, jokingly way if people actually knew me.
Right.
Most people knew me around here. So after about an hour, it's a normal post. After about 3 hours, it's front page of all the professional wrestling websites. Gunner Miller, independent wrestling, whatever. I think independent wrestler calls Marco Stunt signing a slap in the face to real athletes. That's the headline.
There you go.
And I got attacked by everybody. No WWE guys, no big guys that we respect, but like all the AEW wrestlers and all the independent wrestlers, they all attacked me for being bum.
Are you back into wrestling now? Did you go back into it?
I am back into it.
Okay, yeah.
So I started wrestling for Southern Honor Wrestling. I came back in November. I had my first match in December, and I had one in January. I'm gonna wrestle once a month.
You're healthy now.
I'm healthy.
That's good.
Yeah, so I'm not looking to do anything crazy like I was, but I'm gonna wrestle once a month. I'm about to get into the MMA, Relentless Fight League.
Okay, so my question on that for you is: are you going? And I don't mean this in a bad way, so I'm trying to figure out how to say it. Are you going? Are we fighting?
No, we're not fighting.
Okay.
So I'm gonna do all my fighting in a professional wrestling ring.
Okay, I didn't know.
Where it's scripted and I know exactly what's going to happen, and
They
I
can
still hurt
choke.
myself sometimes.
Well, listen. If you people listening to this, you can say what you want to, especially if you watched old school, and I don't watch as much now, but that is real athleticism.
Oh yeah.
And they're real falls, and people really get hurt.
Yeah.
And it takes a toll on the body. Go check out Diamond Dallas Page's podcast.
Yeah.
Listen to the stuff that he's been through, and he's helping people now.
Right.
Do you keep up with his stuff?
Yeah.
The yoga stuff?
So he's been at Southern Honor Wrestling. So one of the guys that does the video editing and that is involved with Southern Honor.
Yeah.
Came from the DDP Yoga media.
Gotcha.
His name's Dylan. He's actually one of the video guys for AEW. Funny.
Yeah, there
how
you go.
that happens, but yeah.
So you're not going to fight?
I'm not going to fight.
What are you going to do?
I'm going to be doing commentary.
Good for you, man.
Yeah, man. So I did a UTC football game last year on radio with Jim Reynolds, And then after that happened, it kind of got the ball rolling. This opportunity came along. They asked me to do commentary for this Relentless Fight League.
Jim Reynolds, I worked with Jim Reynolds for, I don't know, if you add it all together, 10, 12 years.
Yeah.
And I said it to you before we came on when we
Yeah.
were talking about Jim. To me, the best sports radio guy, period.
No doubt.
He is the most professional guy you ever meet. I always got along great with me. Super nice guy. I left the radio in 2004. I went and owned a billboard company, and then I ended up selling it to Lamar Outdoor. But then when I went back over to the radio station where he's at, man, I was surprised he was still there. Not because of how people come in and out of radio.
Right.
I thought he was going to get hired by a bigger market because he's that good.
Yeah, you were saying that.
Yeah, he is really good. You're in with some good people if you're working with Jim at football, and then you're going to go over here and do the MMA stuff. And I know you've got some people that are going to come over there with you as far as the announcing you showed me. That's pretty good too. That's
Yeah,
good stuff,
I mean,
man.
yeah, one of the other people that we have coming over is involved in Bellator, which is one of the top promotions in MMA. And, we'll see how it goes. I mean,
How long before you think they're going to ask you to get in the ring?
Well, they're not. I mean, I don't think – I'm not stupid. I'm not trying to get in there and get beat up for real.
No, but I think you would enjoy the jiu-jitsu training and stuff. I think there's a Krav Maga. I think you would enjoy that aspect of doing it, or boxing.
I agree. The only reason I haven't jumped into it is because I'm a little obsessive, and I would want to be in there all the time.
Jiu-jitsu, I think, and I've not taken. My shoulders are horrible. That's why I do the boxing stuff, because I can kind of control more. I don't have people pulling on them. But the people that I know that really get into jiu-jitsu that have your personality, it's that way.
Yeah.
It becomes almost just religious,
Right.
To some extent.
And if that happens, then I'm pretty athletic. I'm pretty naturally athletic, so I'm not going to be terrible at it. I wouldn't think. So then I'm going to want to compete. And then if I compete and I win, then we're in trouble.
Why are you in trouble?
Because I can't. I do not have the time to do any other
things. I will
things.
say this though, and this is my limited. I'm looking at the camera. My very limited experience in anything in that area. I think jiu-jitsu, boxing, and other things have a way of humbling you. So yes, you will be good at it, and I was pretty athletic and stuff. But there are things when you get into the learning curve on it. I think you would love the learning process.
That's the problem. I feel like wrestling. Like I picked up on wrestling pretty quick. Like as far as like, I could watch somebody do something and then I could do it.
Yeah,
that's
right.
pretty much like I wouldn't have to really try it. It could just kind of happen that way. Now I know with a competition, you have somebody trying to keep you from doing something, which is different than helping you do something. But still, I would get too obsessive over it and I'd get addicted and it would be bad. It would just consume my life.
Well, I'm excited to listen to you, man. On the new venture, I think it'll be a good addition to what you're doing.
Yeah, and I'm hoping I get to do another UTC game this year. Hopefully Todd has a vacation or something coming up, and Jim hits me up again because I think there was some pretty good reviews come back from that game. So
yeah, well, you're young. We talked about that. You're adding to your resume with this kind of stuff.
Yeah,
so I like seeing it. I'm happy for you, and I'm a fan of it. I hope you do great with it.
Cool, Clint. Anything else, man?
Oh, man, I appreciate you asking me on. This has been fun.
Yeah. We'll get all your social media stuff and we'll plug it in the YouTube and everything. But, all right, everybody. That was episode 5, Chat with Gunner. That was Clint Powell. You can check him out on the During the Break podcast, Dayfire podcast, Marketing Mix Radio, Real Estate Radio. He has a Chattanooga Fitness Expo deal coming up. When is that?
It's actually Sean Whitfield's. It's I think it's July. I'm just trying to promote it a little bit for him. Yeah.
Okay, so that'll be coming up, and that's about it, man. So make sure you go over to iTunes, go to Chat with Gunner, CHATT with Gunner, GUNNER. Leave a 5-star review. Leave a written review. Go over to YouTube, share the page, like the page, subscribe to the page. Hit that little bell so you can get notifications whenever we go live or whenever we post up a video. And head over to the Facebook. You can follow me on there to get all the information, or go to LinkedIn. Go to Gunner Miller. You can follow me on there. I'm trying to hit all the platforms, so do me a favor. All you have to do is share. You don't have to pay. All you got to do is share. Sharing is caring. All right, guys. Appreciate it. We'll catch you next time.